Welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Podcast. I'm Nate. I'm joined by Brian, CT, Brandon, DeMarco, and JG.
I was talking during the intro.
It's okay.
It's all cool.
All right, let's do it again.
No, we're on there. That's there. So, in terms of breaking news that happened today in the world of the NBA, Kyrie opted back in, shattering the hearts of Lakers fans everywhere who somehow thought that he would re-sign, or actually opt in for the mid-level exception at $6 million. JG, how you feel about that?
Why did I say sharing my heart though? He was using us for leverage, I guess, to try to get a max deal. When the Nets didn't fold, he just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna opt in." So good for Kyrie, I guess he's getting his $37 million, and good for KD. He don't gotta move to Phoenix. But for the Lakers, we're cooked. And we can talk about this. Not talk about it now. We have like 6 people on the roster, and our 4th best player is THT. When your 4th best player is THT, that means you're cooked.
So Russell Westbrook is the 3rd?
I would hope so. My fault. Kendrick Nunn might be the 3rd, Westbrook the 4th, and then THT the 5th. Either way, that's awful. So, but at least Malik Monk wants to take a pay cut, apparently, to come back. Why is he doing that? I don't know. He must really like
Malik Monk opted
was on
in.
minimum.
He opted in.
No, he's going free.
He was on the option.
It wasn't an option.
Who opted in on the Lakers then?
Kendrick Nunn.
Oh, I thought the same person for real.
What's the difference?
Well, Malik Monk ain't nothing.
They tell me Malik Monk was next though.
Anyways,
27-1-1-1.
It's on me.
That's great.
I
What you think?
I wasn't following this too much, but I would say I think him opting into the deal makes it easier for the Nets to like have trade scenarios, to have conversations, discussions for the whole summer, and it makes the math easier. That's pretty much my only opinion about it.
Yeah, you can match 37 mil in the NBA now.
Yeah,
because we got guys like Buddy Hill making like 25. So when it comes to a trade, I know I seen that 3-team trade with Indiana just taking Russell, and then
why not?
Yeah, so that like a contract like that would match up. Again, Kyrie is a humble man, but I don't think he's $6 million humble. So
To be fair, the Hornets have shown interest in Russell Westbrook, so we never know.
So that 3-team trade. So
Yeah, man.
Who do we get back?
Gordon Hayward to the Nets.
I'm not joking. I would take Gordon Hayward and whoever the Hornets would
Probably Terry Rozier go there.
Bro,
That's not a bad deal. I would take them.
If you're getting Gordon Hayward and Terry Rozier, man,
On that Lakers roster,
I don't know.
That's better than Westbrook.
Why?
I mean, that's just a lot
if y'all
of
getting
players
Terry
over
Rozier,
50
you
games,
should just keep Westbrook.
But you get Gordon Hayward too.
Gordon Hayward plays 50 games, max. And you got LeBron who plays 60 now. AD, who knows? Okay, you're saying he gonna play.
That's the same thing you could have
But
said.
who else is gonna play?
What is the goal here?
Austin
Is the goal a ring?
The goal is a ring.
Is it a ring?
LeBron's on the roster, but Westbrook's on the roster, so it's conflicting interests clearly.
The goal is dignity.
No. The goal. The goal for the front office is a ring, but it's not. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think the real goal is to try to get LeBron to sign another extension, but I don't think he's gonna do that.
No.
Well, the Lakers did show that nepotism is real for certain big name players. I mean, because who knows? I don't know what Bronny James, because that's what you're referring to. Because LeBron, if he wants to play with Bronny, and Bronny is either, depending on whether the rule changes or not, he's either 1 year away or 2 years away from the league. I don't know whether he will be a top 60 prospect when that does come out. But a lot of teams may be chasing Bronny in order to get LeBron. So the Lakers will probably be one of those teams as well in order to keep him around, especially for those last few years of his career.
He's a better chance.
Bronny's good. Bronny's good.
He's
really good.
Yeah, he is.
But they say he played like LeBron, and you can see it. But the thing is, he's 6'4".
Right.
I don't even know if he's 6'4". He's probably
Maybe
6'2".
6'2".
Yeah, so he's like 6'2", 6'3", and you're playing like LeBron. That doesn't really move anyone because LeBron is 6'9".
It's also too like high school. It's seriously like I don't know how much y'all watch like high school hoops, but like it's so saturated with like you get more recognition for just like your ability to score the ball at that level. Not saying like there's not great scores that like translate when they get to the league, but it's just like Bronny's play style is like
More mature.
for his age, cerebral and mature. He looks to get others involved. I think he's like I don't know if y'all watch like EYBL like sessions or. I don't know, man, I love hoops.
I've
But,
seen
like,
this tape.
I mean, watch it. Like he's progressed as a scorer. He's always been a really good shooter, especially knockdown shooter off the catch. And he's made strides with like just scoring off the dribble. He's a long-term prospect. Like I don't think he's gonna be a guy that comes to the league. It's like, oh wow, look at him. But like, right system, right team, development, like 3-4 years down the line. Yeah,
And he likes them long twos.
Yeah, even then, if you just like even as a long-term project, I still think he's going to get drafted highly just because of his name.
Yeah, not a lottery pick, but he'll be drafted high.
Yeah.
Or some team trying to get LeBron.
Yeah.
But just like watching him games, he's somewhat like he plays and acts so much like taller than he actually is. And I think but I think it might be a detriment to him because he's like out there on the court like trying to get blocks and like play like a little bit bigger than he is, which is good. But once you get into the NBA, like nowadays, 6'3" might be the shortest player on the court for some teams by like 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
I guess we'll see. Maybe he might grow a little bit more. He's still in high school, so.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to CC Small, I don't know how the Lakers find themselves.
His little brother might be
right. How many picks do they like?
Yeah, do they have a pick in the next?
2025, I think that's a pick.
They could just do the same thing that they did like this year and get a little second rounder, pick up Bronny.
The second rounder?
Yes.
Probably. Yeah, who did they pick in the second round this year? Max Christie?
Yes.
Was he white?
No.
I think
No.
he's not.
He's light skinned.
Oh yeah, he's Doug Christie's son.
What they say, the new NBA?
He's a good prospect though.
They call it the new NBA?
Like, say what you want about the Lakers, but like they were really good at like draft
Media.
So
You in the media?
new media.
The new NBA,
He
man.
might be part of the media thing. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
They had them boys walking down to the green room looking crazy.
Y'all want to talk about that? No, we'll say that for the after hours.
Yeah, we'll say
That's
that.
After hours. We'll say that for the after hours episode.
Nah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I don't want to go from a Lakers standpoint, probably more from a Kyrie standpoint. It's
Yeah.
probably a little bit more long-winded. But, I mean, I always thought that he was going to probably opt in because, one, I couldn't see Kyrie tearing it down $30 million when his whole argument with Brooklyn was trying to get a max without incentives, basically. When you looked at his market, I think he noticed, like we noticed, that it was limited because there was basically, it was so limited that the Knicks, who are moving cap space, were moving cap space for Jalen Brunson, they were moving cap space for Jalen Brunson, not for Kyrie. So I think Kyrie looked at the landscape, he understood that he wasn't going to be able to, that there weren't any real sign and trade prospects, and I think the Nets understand it as well because there's no teams that really showed any interest in a sign and trade. So it was the best thing for Kyrie was just to kind of opt in, play for another year. I think we'll hear some of these same questions again because this does feel a little bit like even though this is a different sport, it feels like the Russell Wilson situation where he gave the list of teams. Now he still got the extension, unlike Kyrie, but he got the extension unlike Kyrie, but obviously we saw he just got traded this offseason. So I think these questions will still be surrounding Kyrie going into next year.
So, question. Do you think that Kyrie finishes the season or finish even the summer with the Nets?
Yes, I think he finished. I think he actually plays the entire season. Because I think
well, first of all, playing the entire season, you mean every game?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think he finishes the season.
They removed the mandate, so I wouldn't assume
No,
that.
that don't matter.
He
He gonna find
But
a
one
way.
of-
hasn't played over like 50 games.
I was gonna say, but one of the things that Shams talked about, even though of course we I think it was JG that said that the team will probably still look for options and signing trades, but they said basically once Kyrie opted in, he's not looking like for any sign and trade options. So I think he's fully committed for this year.
But
So the question is,
he said he wanted to basically commit to the 4-year plan with him and KD.
yeah. So I think Kyrie stays there because again, I don't know what team wants Kyrie right now.
But it's
Oh,
Sean
and
Marks,
Lakers.
right? Sean Marks on that team?
Yeah.
Shaw Marks with Joe Tsai's owner, which is funny because like for the leading up to this, I was like looking at my story time before Kyrie opted into the option. A lot of like Nets fans were of the belief that like, oh well, like if Joe Tsai and like Shawn Marks don't like listen to Kyrie, like this is it for the Nets franchise because they lose KD, which is right. So like, I'm not here to like give praise like any owners, but like Joe Tsai like held his ground. Like
I don't
good
think
for him.
I don't think it's it though. Even if they lose like both of them,
Yeah.
the Nets like the money been funneled into there. They're going to get somebody. I mean, we was looking at
When have the Nets ever got anybody?
They haven't been the Nets for that long, but they started out. No. I'm talking about the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are way different than the New Jersey Nets, and we see just from like the willingness of the trade and like they try to do a big splash with the big three and getting them over to Brooklyn, and then the same thing with this team here. Like it's evident almost that people still want to go there, and I may sound crazy, but I think they might almost have more of an allure right now than the New York Knicks.
Of course.
Just going from the jerseys and the location and the things like that, like very simple things. I think you put them all together. They had the thing of Jay-Z being courtside at all the games. They seem like a more Hollywood type franchise. So
do you think the Lillard stays though, like moving forward if KD and Kyrie leave though? Because I felt like
I don't think so.
that narrative shifted like, oh, Brooklyn's supposed to be happening once KD and Kyrie signed with the Nets initially.
I want to say I don't think that the Lillard stays because this would be like their second big experiment that they got because the Joe Johnson, Paul Pierce, KG,
Darren Williams,
and Brook Lopez team really failed. And the Brooklyn Nets, they had the new jerseys. They moved to Brooklyn. All the black and white uniforms. Jay-Z was a partial owner, I think. So that was viewed as a really cool team. And then they had the D-Lo era. They had tanked for a while. They got the D-Lo era, and that was a real organic team. And they got a lot of those players without drafting, really. And that was a real impressive job by the general manager at the time. But then they put all their chips into the big names, and I think depending on how this ends, this may not be the status of the Brooklyn Nets going forward. Because if you get KD and Kyrie and you miss KD, Kyrie, and they had James Harden, those were 3 top 10 to 15 players in the league at that point. I think it's a lot of free agents may look at the organization and say, well, if you can't win with them, how are you going to be able to win with me?
It's top down now.
Also, didn't they give all the picks to the Rockets for James Harden?
Yeah, they did, but it's still like they'll be fine. Like it's top down, and I guess what we're seeing now is Sean Marks is looking crazy because, man, these trades is not hitting. Like they got like it's almost looking like the Lakers for real, where they got like all stars growing in other places and just getting better. And it's like you could have just kept a lot of them players.
I'll say
I don't think they needed James Harden to begin with. But what you want to say?
they didn't use James Harden to begin with. Yeah, maybe. I'll just say real quick. I think like moving forward, I know like reports kind of the Clippers like kind of like were hesitant about coming to Kyrie and obviously like kind of like just took a step back and it was only the Lakers, but I won't be surprised if they make a run like at him in the next coming like days or weeks if the Nets are looking to trade Kyrie just because because they have the reason
they got John Wall.
Actually, you're right, John. That sign just
I'm taking.
My fault.
Maybe I'm crazy if I say this.
Well, to go from there.
Wait. I want to say because I didn't get my Kyrie take off. Everybody else did.
Okay.
But I do want. It's gonna be real quick though.
Okay.
But I think a player of Kyrie's status, ability, and even still, he's not a young player, but even still, the ability to still get better on a championship level team. I feel like this is really an unprecedented situation for a player of his talent to have the ability to earn a long-term max contract, and he has to opt in because nobody in the league really was willing to give him that sort of money. And not a lot of teams this offseason have cap space, but I don't know if teams having cap space would have changed it. And I think the only team that would have wanted him was the Lakers, and I feel like they only really wanted him because they wanted to find a way to get rid of Russell Westbrook's contract. So I just wanted that's a really rare situation for a player at this level to almost be unwanted because he's easily a max level player, but due to circumstances, whether he's playing, not playing, getting vaccinated or not, stuff like that has lowered his value even within his own team because they're not even willing to offer him a max extension.
Brandon, before you say whatever crazy thing you want to say,
It wasn't going to be
the goal was for get Kyrie to sign the mid-level, and then they wanted to sign an extension next season. That's what the Lakers wanted to do. It's not happening. Well,
but even if they did, they would have still been trying to. Because if you get Kyrie, you're gonna find a way to get rid of Westbrook somehow.
The max is
I hope so.
The max is still in the cards. I think the max is still going to happen for him somewhere. I think what we saw, it was such unprecedented like terms, like just having someone like play half the season because of that whole situation. Just seems so crazy to where it's like, well, I don't know. But I think once teams warm up again, honestly, he only played 27 games, but we're going to see that he's going to play at least like 50 or 60. Like, I know he's not probably going to play the whole season, but he'll at least play like 50 because he'll get a lot of those games back that he wasn't able to play.
This is the year that he would play all the games, though.
But
contract year.
Even before with him playing 20 games or him playing 50 the year before he was what, 50, 40, 90 in like 50 games? Yeah. So it's like, he's getting that contract.
Yeah, the talent isn't what people question. It's
the availability.
The availability and the other.
I don't think they're antics, but people think they're antics. Yeah, of course. That's what people perceive it to be.
But my take was give me John Wall today to run an offense over Kyrie Irving.
Anyway, let's move on.
Are you including price tag?
I don't think I want to hear it again.
Straight off waivers, including price tag like on the 47 mil. No, I don't think there's many players, maybe outside of like 3 or 4 that even deserve that price tag. That's crazy. But I guess we're gonna see Bradley Beal work on that one. But at his, if he's signing for 2-3 million or mid-level exception or anything like that, man, I don't think you get much better than John Wall.
At that value?
Yeah, like we can't.
I forgot to say, if Kyrie signed for that Melo, they was gonna destroy that CBA.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the CBA is still gonna get looked at because the
the
way the buyouts have been looking for the last few years and they're looking now. It's like you can see with John Wall. It's like you can literally say, "I'm not playing. I want to go play for them." They'll buy you out and you'll go move. And
but from the player side, teams can say, "We don't want you to play because you're helping us win too many games."
And we saw that with Al Horford.
Like John Wall and Al Horford in both of the last few seasons. When Al Horford was in OKC, they literally sat him down, and one of the graphics, it said Al Horford old for the reason he was out. Stuff like that is from the player side at least, because I know both sides, because you have this is the player empowerment era, and so a lot of the ownership groups and the teams are going to try to figure out ways on how to limit player movement from small markets to the bigger markets like LA, New York, Miami, Atlanta, places like that, but the players are going to look for ways to ensure their own safety, securing their financials. Because John Wall, whether he played or not, long term he may have lost money by missing the last few years, because he opted into the $47 million, but he would have done that anyway. And depending on how he plays, hopefully he avoids injury. But he's playing on a 1-year deal right now, and who knows what happens after that. Instead of playing on a potential extension, which he could have gotten if he was playing in Houston or playing wherever he was at. So players missing out on money because of the situation that they're being placed in is something that the NBA PA will probably also look at.
I don't know. I think if John Wall played the past 2 or 3 years, I don't remember because that was like high school.
It's been about 3.
But if he played the last couple years, I feel like his health would have deteriorated faster. Am I wrong?
I'm here to defend Xavier, and everyone knows who are John Wall
fans.
believers.
Oh my God!
I will say this: I won't say a poor man's, but honestly, like his health and getting slower, it does deteriorate some of his value. But if we really go back to what his bread and butter was, it was a lot of that mid range, and it was getting his teammates open.
It was,
and that's always gonna be working in the NBA. You don't think that was the case?
A lot of
he was,
of
course,
he was built on what now?
He was running up and down. He was running up and down the court. But if we go to them highlights from 2017, 2018,
that type of stuff isn't always going to be there because a lot of John Wall's playmaking was predicated on his explosiveness.
Yes,
getting downhill.
But he was getting
people dumping it off to centers like Marcin Gortat.
He was watching the Westbrook highlights.
No,
the John Wall did the behind the back.
He was getting 23 and 10 in his prime. I understand that's a long. Right? That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. But
let's transition to the John Wall topic because John Wall was bought out today by Houston, right? Today.
Yes,
today, and then he almost immediately agreed to terms with the Clippers. It's been reported by I think almost all the big media outlets.
Sean King.
So
they don't even need him to do that on the Clippers, though. They don't need him to do that on the Clippers, and we already doubting him. I'm not saying he gonna run up. I'm not saying he gonna run up and down the court like the fastest player in the league like he was, but to say he may not even be able to like run the same, I think
who's doubting him?
He
let me finish my tape.
I say he put up 14 and 10.
10?
That's reasonable.
Yes, 10 assists.
He ain't getting a PT. He gets 10 assists. You're not getting a PT.
No, he'll get the PT. I don't know if he's gonna have the usage.
Reggie Jackson was playing 35 minutes, man.
The ball isn't gonna be. I don't think the ball is gonna be in his hands enough for him to get 10 assists.
Reggie Jackson and John Wall splitting minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not 50-50.
Are the Clippers gonna run a
He
PNR
played
offense?
in 2 years, man.
He got a whole offseason.
Is the Clippers' primary offense going to be a PNR offense?
No. The Clippers' offense will always be give the ball to Kawhi and PG. Yeah. But
so then John's not averaging more.
I know. I don't think he's averaging 10 assists only because his usage rate will not be high.
Per 36, he averages.
Playing next to such talented. Per 36, sure. But playing next to such talented players like Kawhi Leonard and one of the all-time talents,
Norman Powell,
Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George. Two all-time talents in this league. They're both very isolation-heavy players, especially in the fourth quarter. And John Wall would likely not have the ball in his hands. I don't really know.
John Wall's not going to be on
He may not be on the court unless he can, that year.
That defense.
He shot decent percentage from 3 a recent year. I don't know what it was. decent for John Wall. I don't know if
Like
it's decent.
37.
Yeah.
If he'd been out for 2 years and he hitting threes, oh my gosh!
And
I'm
those
thinking-
training videos of Michael Beasley, he be knocking.
He was getting cooked by Beasley. I seen the
He was
video.
knocking the threes
He
down.
was knocking it down.
I think man, they could stagger his minutes really and keep the Paul George and the Kawhi Leonard on the court like during second, third quarter type thing. But if you put him on the court and you got him and you got Boston and Kennard in them, 10 assists don't look too crazy. With them and Tyronn Lue offense, I mean, we've seen that he's a great coach.
He's a great coach. I don't know what the offense
But
was.
He's-
can I just say this real quick?
They was 500.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say, but like the transformation of the Clippers offense from Doc Rivers to Tyronn Lue is a much more slower paced offense. Like they're really infrequent in terms of like transition offense. So yeah, obviously John Wall's like lost his step, but it's just
I don't know if he has. Has he lost his step?
No, but I'm just but how is he
injuries,
gonna look in an offense that's like primarily run in a half court setting?
I think it looks good.
I think it'll look pretty good. He looked really good when he was playing in the playoffs back in the
John
day.
Wall been, and this is rarely talked about, but John Wall has been one of the smartest point guards in the league.
I agree.
For a while, and so maybe he's had time to watch the game from the sideline. Hopefully, his ability to play in the half court offense. His game has always been best in transition, setting up others, and his explosiveness. But I do think his game is a type of game that could potentially translate well into those later years where he can always be a steady point guard for a team that could need somebody. Yes.
So John was going to be running the point guard for the bench unit then.
No.
I'm saying,
I think, but wait. Before anybody else answers, I want to say John Wall being on this team could be really effective for, like he said, staggering minutes with Paul George and Kawhi. Especially Kawhi load manages.
That's not
so
a
he's
bench
probably
unit.
playing 60 games, 50 games. If you can get John Wall out there, maybe his assists look better because Kawhi isn't playing a lot until the playoffs. But if he's out there, you can have him on the court with Paul George when Kawhi's on the bench. You can have him on the court with Kawhi when Paul George is on the bench. He'll be the starting point guard, but they're not all going to play together at the same time the entire game. That's not how rotations in basketball
Would you
work.
put him in closeout lineups?
I don't know if
they
he's
can't
playing
do that
closeout
because they're
lineups.
going to leave him wide open.
Who? John Wall?
He's not gonna be on.
They're gonna leave him wide open.
They're going to
Man, I think we just need to see the footage. I think we just need to wait till he starts. We just need to see when he starts the season because if a player has been out for 2 seasons and if they haven't gotten any better,
Are you assuming he's going to become at least a reliable shooter at age 34?
I don't know.
Yes, I mean,
He needs to hit
At least.
open threes somewhat consistently.
because they have Norman
Has that
Powell.
ever been him?
Think about it. In their closing lineup, they would have Norman Powell,
PG.
Kawhi and PG, and then you have Marcus Morris.
You'd
and
probably throw Luke in there,
Robert
man.
Covington. And depending on how they match up, it could be Marcus Morris, Zubac, depending on, or if they get another center somewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't know if John Wall really fits in that
John
closing
Wall
lineup because
fits
I don't
in
want the
that
ball in John Wall's hands if I have Paul George on the team.
I'm saying
And
today's
Kawhi.
John Wall.
But if I have
Maybe
Paul George on the
Kawhi.
team, yeah.
Oh.
Because
I'm saying today's
Paul
John
George
Wall.
has been their point guard the last 2 years. So
Today's John Wall, I agree with y'all.
I mean,
But if
Larry Jackson was
if we're considering him one of the smartest point guards, and we're talking about like evolving as a player, even by the time we get to the end of the season, I think we might see a changed player just because of the fact that he want to be on the court.
I agree.
And if you want to be on the court, you're not about to keep doing the same things and taking elbow jumpers because you know that's going to take you off the court.
That's
I
a
think
good point.
I think we're looking at his demise almost like Derrick Rose.
Yeah, but
We're looking at it like he's just going to jump from team to team to team. I think he was gone for 2 seasons, not even because he was a bad player, but because he averaged 20 and 8, and they told him to go sit on the bench. We just watched Al Horford get told to go sit on the bench, then come back and have some of the best finals games.
he had to work his way back into it.
But okay, I'm saying,
he had a half a year off.
but exactly.
John Wall, I will say, is probably a big enough name where if he's on the bench in the fourth quarter, Twitter's going to be talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
Just because NBA Twitter may not understand like the nuances of basketball.
Yeah.
And John Wall, I could understand if he takes it personally that he's not in the closing lineup.
Yeah.
But I don't really know if his game suits their closing lineup the way that they would need him to.
Yeah.
But he may want, like you said, he may work on his game to the point where if he's shooting 35% from 3
That's
and
good.
still providing all the other stuff that we know John Wall can provide, then maybe they keep him on the court over Norman Powell.
He could be better than Reggie
Honestly,
Jackson. I'm telling you, at least that.
That's a whole different discussion, but I think they complement each other in terms of like what they both bring to the team. Whereas like John Wall is going to be a steady hand to that shit, where it's like he's not going to make any bad decisions with the ball. Whereas with Reggie, sometimes he makes like boneheaded like decisions on like certain possessions, but like he's a bucket getter. Like that man will get you a bucket, and then closing.
I don't think Reggie's in the closing lineups if John Wall even wasn't on the team. Because I would put Norman
No, it's
Powell,
possible.
and I'm putting Paul George. Telling Paul George.
They really
No, he's Paul George probably have the ball in half court, but like I want Reggie Jackson out there to like shoot the open three.
But if you're doing that, who's not on the court? Are you taking Norman Powell?
Yeah,
I say you might as well put Powell on the court.
No,
You
run Kawhi at the 4.
But who's at the 5? Who do you have at the 5?
Morris.
So Covington.
You're taking out Rocco? I can't.
Covington. If you want to go, if you want to, you put Covington.
So look, if you're saying Reggie,
he played the 5 at some point.
No.
Kawhi,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't see a scenario where Reggie Jackson is taking off any of those and making the team more positive. So like I know what you're saying, like Rocco being able to play the 5, but I don't see you taking out Morris because Morris is a better 3-point shooter than Reggie Jackson. And in terms of having a better playmaker, Reggie Jackson or Paul George, you can put in Morris, get that size, still have the playmaker from Paul George, and not need Reggie Jackson.
Like late games.
You still got Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard off the bench. Because if they're having big games, those type of players will also be in the closing.
I think John Wall might move Reggie Jackson down to 9 or 10. I'm gonna be honest.
CT would say
He might put him down to 10 on the roster. John Wall's not.
But as CT would say,
I think he was more a product of the system, though. Reggie Jackson, the
But as
Tyronn
CT would
Lue,
say,
they
like-
was 500.
They was
CT
winning.
would say
That was
late-
Reggie Jackson. Or was that Tyronn Lue? Why they was 500?
late-
I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I don't know what system you're talking about with Tyronn Lue. I've never seen the system.
No, but lady,
I mean, you watch the games. Is there a system in place?
For
Not
Tyronn
really.
Lue?
Yeah.
I'd say somewhat there is.
Okay.
What's
What's the system?
It's not necessarily.
So they was vibing to 500.
They weren't violent. It's great coaching. I mean, they made wins happen, but I don't know what sets they run that's specific to the Clippers.
No, I'm not. I wasn't talking about like play call. I was talking about like the pace at which they play.
Okay.
It's a lot more slower than what they used to play like a year like before 2021.
But kind of like as CT said before, like not like entirely, but like wouldn't the Clippers kind of be in like the Celtics situation where Kawhi and PG are gonna have the ball in their hands anyway? So you wouldn't really need like Reggie Jackson to play make down the stretch.
But isn't that
basketball? Yeah.
But the last episode, that was y'all great with the Celtics. It was too many turnovers.
Yeah, but
They needed
Paul
somebody
George
to-
and
Kawhi and
they have
PG
those
are
same-
here
they don't
compared
have
to
those
JV
same
and JT.
turnover problems.
No, but I'm also
And they're
saying,
kicking the ball to better shooters.
Hey, man.
and also
John
like,
Wall season coming up.
also
That's
too
all I'm
like
saying.
in a let's just say like late game situations like 3 or 4 minutes something like clock. Like we talk about like PG having the ball in his hands. He's talking about the ball in his hands like every possession coming down the floor. No, seriously. Like in the floor,
It's either him or Kawhi.
But I was saying that
Yeah.
before, like you're gonna have
Kawhi,
like those offhand possessions where like you like if it's not gonna be those two, like let Reggie.
In the playoffs?
Come on, man. Yes,
Kawhi was not on. Was hurt.
And Paul
when Reggie
was-
Jackson
they
tried
did
to
it
go
because
crazy.
of need. Like you had to give it to Reggie Jackson.
I'm saying forget that scene. I'm just saying in the flow of especially like a playoff basketball game. Not every possession is gonna work out the way you want it, where your star players.
I can see that.
Every
So why not have
So give it to Norman Powell.
No.
Reggie Jackson is a better shot creator than Norman
I
Powell.
think
hold
that comes in like when the shot clock is breaking down.
Exactly.
Reggie Jackson has like a 10-second.
Yeah.
But
I can see that.
if you're saying if you're saying the point guard needs to have the ball in his hand, why wouldn't you have John Wall on the court instead of Reggie Jackson? Because you keep talking about shot making, but I'm thinking that's
Who's a better fourth quarter scorer?
I think John.
I think
I'm
John
saying
Wall.
if you're gonna have the ball in somebody's hands, that's not PG or Kawhi.
If we be
you have it
honest,
in John Wall's hands.
they were
instead of
calling
I don't know why
Jackson.
I don't know why we're saying not
Right,
PG or
right,
Kawhi. I don't know why we're saying not PG or Kawhi because we literally watch Kawhi come down the court every time on the Raptors and
Exactly.
just do a jab step and hit the shots.
That's why I said the only
And that's what the Clippers were
time
doing.
I see a Reggie Jackson ISO is if the shot clock is breaking
I
down
agree.
and Kawhi kicks
And
the
he
ball
looking like
because
Marcus
Reggie,
Smart.
hey man, they called him Mr. June for a reason, man. Mr. June, Reggie Jackson, he can go get a bucket, but I don't know if the Clippers are telling him to bring the ball up the court and get a bucket with 2 minutes left in the fourth.
That's my
They're
bold
not doing
prediction.
that with John Wall either.
That's my bold
But they don't need to
prediction.
do
My
that
bold
with John Wall. That's my
prediction.
point.
They have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
My bold prediction is John Wall may put Reggie Jackson out the playoff rotation.
Out of
Not
playoff
rotation.
I think he may be able to do it.
You can say yeah.
Because they're only
than Reggie Jackson.
at
He's not gonna take
a
my
certain
rotation.
point they're only gonna be able to go 8 or 9 deep.
And Reggie
So
Jackson not
who
gonna
are
be in
their
8 or
so
9.
who are their
They
guards
are
that are
pretty
going to be
good
playing in
team.
that rotation?
Norman Powell, Luke Kennard, and
I don't know.
Luke-
John
so
Wall.
Luke
I don't
Kennard
know
play
if
over
Kennard-
Luke Kennard
Reggie?
has to.
No.
Y'all don't consider
Luke
him like
Kennard
power
is
forward?
Luke Kennard is not playing over fucking Reggie Jackson, dog.
I mean, no, he's gonna get the minutes. He's gonna get the minutes for just shooting. But like late game, 100% of the time, it's more likely Reggie Jackson's going to be out there than Luke Kennard.
I would understand if you said like Terrence Mann or something.
Luke Kennard, that's my boy, but
I got Luke Kennard at 9 on that team.
2 playoffs ago, or 1 playoff ago.
In the playoff rotation, who's the backup point guard?
You don't need one.
No,
you got Paul George.
Paul George and Kawhi. You
Reggie
don't
Jackson. Okay, you guys, come on. Reggie Jackson is not going to fall out of nowhere.
No, we're not saying he is.
He's
I don't think because Luke Kennard is the type of player that if he starts shooting 30% from 3, you're not playing him anymore.
Exactly.
And that happened not just in the last playoffs.
Yeah.
He got put out of the rotation because
we already saw what happened.
And that's all he's doing in the playoffs. You're not asking.
Morris is probably going to get cut from the rotation. Like, he got cut this year. He got cut in the rotation. Oh, he was.
He was injured off and on.
Okay.
But they were cooking without him. The Clippers are one of the best teams that cook.
No, they have the best. They have the most depth this year. They're like for sure 12 or 13 deep. So
I'm just saying
they may not have to run 8 or 9. Like they might run 10.
Yeah, because when you look at it, the Warriors were running 10.
We saw what Golden State was able to do.
They was running Major League out there and plucking people. So
that was like in sparing minutes. It wasn't like consistently. I'm saying this is a team that can consistently run 10 the whole playoffs.
I'm just saying. Let's just give Wall a chance. This is the last point I have.
Nobody said
this is the last point I have.
You say he's gonna take starters out the whole rotation.
Because what I'm saying is, even when John Wall was at his lowest and he was coming off the Achilles, and they still had to bench him. He was helping the team win, and they told him he couldn't play no more. When we look at the other options and like the other times that stuff like this has happened,
that was Houston though.
Right, that's what I'm about to say.
What I'm saying is. That's my literal point. Like the same thing we're showing with Al Horford. Like he was playing quality minutes in the finals. Not saying that it's going to translate the same, but I think we're comparing John Wall more to like players that got injured. They never came back the same, and then they went on that buyout market, or they're like, oh, they don't really have anything left. Like for example, like Blake Griffin and things like that. When I think he should be more akin to like Al Horford because he was actually producing. Like he came back on the team and he was actually playing after an Achilles injury. We saw it.
That's 5
We probably got like 10 minutes for this.
So let's move on.
I just wanted to ask, and this could be like 2 minutes. Do you guys think that sitting players like John Wall and Al Horford during the middle of the season could potentially like do more harm than good to the players' long-term development? And I say this because on the Rockets this entire season we were saying that for a player like Jalen Green to be as successful as he needs to be, he needs somebody who can either mentor him or play alongside him to be the true point guard. And no offense to Kevin Porter Jr., I think he's an excellent player, excellent talent. But I don't know if right now he is a point guard in today's NBA.
Wait, mentor Jalen Green to be a point guard?
No, not mentor him, but take the ball out of his hands so he can play off ball instead of having him and Kevin Porter Jr. just take turns ISO. And even then, a lot of Rockets fans, I'm a little tapped in with Rockets Twitter, but a lot of Rockets fans have an issue with Jalen Green's usage rate because I think he wasn't top 2 on the team in field goal attempts throughout most of the season because his usage rate was really low.
Who was number 2? I'm assuming one was KPJ.
Christian Wood?
It may have been Christian Wood. So they had an issue with stuff like that.
Yeah, it had to be.
Maybe it got a little derailed from Dennis Schroeder maybe as well. No, he played.
Schroeder was on that team.
He played a few games.
So to answer your question, I would say probably it would depend on what your game plan is in terms of development. Because like you said, if you're trying to get a guy like Jalen Green to like operate both on and off the basketball, then obviously playing a guy like John Wall would make sense. And I think so. If you're prioritizing development over winning, then no, yeah. If you're prioritizing development over winning, I can understand maybe why you sit guys. But I think you can only do it for like one season. Like you can't do that. You can't have people sitting on the bench.
Right. Because look, it's not easy to tank, right?
It's not.
And I think John Wall did, even though John Wall didn't play, he probably did help Jalen Green a lot. And he helped probably a lot of players on there. Man, I watched that Lakers game when Jalen Green put up 30. And he was looking in their eyes and hitting them daggers. It was looking like
John Wall told him to do it?
You could see his ascension moving up. And not saying John Wall did it specifically, but it was probably some people in his ear that's like, you're him. You was the second pick. Like you can't keep just sitting in the corner and doing things like that.
You wasn't telling me.
Man, I was on. I be tapped in with KPJ, but I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. It probably depends on what you're going for. Because if you're focused more on like getting a good pick in development, then obviously you're probably gonna sit somebody. But like let's say like an OKC situation. Like I think at the time they were like developing Poku when they had Al Horford sitting on the bench. So like they were trying to like make sure that he was they were trying to get him to get some minutes. So I think it's depending on like if you're trying to weigh PT or if you're like just we're focused
You
on
need that pick
I got a
because now they got the Slim Towers over there, man.
When you mentioned development, you said long-term development. Are you talking about for the team or are you talking about for the specific player that's sitting?
Well, it could be for both, I would say, because John Wall, if he's playing, he's affecting the whole team. Especially, he makes if he's
guys
at
better.
his best level,
Makes them better.
he's making everybody on the court better. He's getting. I'm not gonna say he's making them better. He's giving them easier looks on offense.
Okay.
Jalen Green is getting easier looks at the basket instead of always having an ISO, because I don't really know how much he was doing off the ball other than cutting to the basket and catching lobs. Alfred Sengun is getting easier looks. Even
Also, go type
Christian Wood is probably getting easier looks, because if John Wall is driving to the paint, people are leaving. I don't really know how the difference between him driving and KPJ driving, so I don't. Especially KPJ isn't looking to pass the same way John Wall may be looking to pass. So it's different for stuff like
So
that.
to answer your question, my opinion on this, with John Wall not playing the past 2 years, which is the statement I was going to make earlier, I feel as though it kind of helped his, I don't want to say development, but extend his career some. I just think so, because based off the last couple years, even before he stopped playing with the Rockets, right? He was injured before, those years before then, right? If he kept playing, he kept getting injured. I think by the time we reach this point, I don't know if he get another contract. After making $47 million, right?
That's fair.
Getting hurt, if he kept getting hurt, because he was doing this before he got to the Rockets.
He was pretty injured.
It's going to be something like.
My bad. You said what?
I was talking to Brandon.
But yes, I think that does help extend his career, because now it's more like a mystery box. We haven't seen him in 2 years. He's been healthy because we don't know, because he hasn't been playing.
Did he get injured with the Rockets?
No, my bad. He's been sitting.
He's been sitting.
Not getting injured, which is why people still want
That's why
him.
he's saying
So you
that.
think it's like the Al Horford situation, like when he sat and then like he came back this year and he was probably a little bit fresh when
I
he
mean,
was able to play.
yeah, he was fresher. Yeah, Horford wasn't injured like John Wall, but I think sitting for 2 years, first of all, doesn't help because that's a basketball player, which y'all just talked about before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
You got to play to stay fresh.
Stay better.
Exactly.
But
so that's my point.
he's
is,
still running though. Like he not sitting at home.
He's not playing NBA basketball. It's different.
Michael Beasley's
It's
NBA
different.
basketball.
Please stop watching.
Michael Beasley just went big
IG
three.
workout
What are you
videos,
talking
man.
about?
No, I'll say this real quick before we have to move on. But like,
All right.
I think like Tyronn Lue has like revitalized like Reggie Jackson's career as Nicholas Batum. I think he's very capable of doing that with John Wall because I think he's that good. I think he's a top 2 head coach in this league personally.
Top.
We'll talk about later.
Yeah,
Why do you make that face?
We'll just do top 5. Just say top 5.
top 3. But
I
I regard him very
ain't mad
highly.
at
Wait, I regard him very highly. But okay, but my point being that I think the question.
He better
for
Steve
me-
Kerr.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
Steve Kerr.
You taking this?
Man, did you see what he did with
Wait,
that team
hold
last
on.
year? The way
Let
he
me just
inspired
real
Paul
quick.
George.
Yeah,
All right.
My last thing I'm about to say before we move on is just like, it will be interesting to see how he shoots the ball from the 3-point line, because in the games that he did play with Houston, it was like like there's no way to miss. It was like really horrendous. Like some games he would just shoot like 14%, like after like 30%, and it's just bad. So
That's okay.
yeah, he had some tornado shooting nights.
37% in 2017. I will say that.
What's
but
I'm talking about.
What's
That's the year
2020?
I'm
last thing. So 2020 for real. He did shoot bad, but what
No,
I'm
say the numbers.
No.
No, say the numbers.
He shot 40% from the field and 32% from 3. But he had 20.7 assists, 3 rebounds, a steal, and damn near a block. He had 0.8. Come on now. Now last thing, for real, we're gonna get to the draft right after this. You keep speaking like we have not seen John Wall play after injury. This is work right here. This is the work right here.
Why you compare John Wall to Al Horford when you also said Blake Griffin?
No. I'm saying Blake Griffin and let's say, for example, like another player that was like battling like lingering type injuries.
Yeah, John Wall. That's not John Wall.
No, we have
You're
his
saying
work.
with him-
No,
with
I'm
him-
saying
with
with
him
him
issues.
having at least these games right here with the Rockets.
There's somebody there.
It's a semblance of him playing decent basketball.
Right, I'm saying if he kept playing these past years and he kept getting injured more and more.
What makes you think that though?
He's saying
I'm saying
it's a
like-
possibility. is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I know that's
He's
a
an
possibility,
injury-prone player.
but there's
Injury prone.
is he injury prone?
John
Yeah.
Wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. He played 4 straight seasons, full seasons. It's right
But
here.
what years are you referring to?
82, 79, 77, 78.
Look at the last 3 years he played.
The last 3 years, yes, he tore his Achilles.
40, 32, 41.
The 40 is because they shut him down. He wasn't injured.
Twice.
He
Yeah,
tore it
he
twice.
tore it twice.
But that doesn't
Same
make
one?
him injury prone, though. That's what I'm saying. He has one injury.
He's a player based on athleticism. He tore his Achilles
This is a
twice.
great question.
I don't think
Is
he tore
that-
the Achilles twice. I think it was a foot.
Is
injury,
KD
and
injury
then when
prone?
He was recovering.
KD,
he tore his
KD
Achilles.
tore his
Yeah.
Achilles twice.
No,
He tore his Achilles and he broke his
John
foot.
Wall, John Wall, I
He
think it was
broke
a
his
foot
foot.
injury, and he was recovering and apparently fell in his
Oh,
house.
yeah.
and tore his Achilles.
He
You don't
He
believe
already
it?
felt trying to get peace or something like that.
I thought that.
You believe it?
I thought that was D'Angelo Hall that happened to,
Oh, you
or
know,
both of them.
Might have been. I don't know.
They was in the same house.
Watching athletes now.
They was in the same house.
Anyway.
Alright.
But I'm saying like KD broke his foot. KD tore his Achilles.
Hold up. That was happening like
KD.
almost 5
But
years
no.
ago.
But these are two very major injuries. I'm saying
No.
this is a major.
Very
He didn't break
different
his
than
foot.
John Wall.
Well,
He
you
did,
talking about
he did
the-
break his
when-
foot. That was when like.
That was a
20.
few
Like
years.
2013.
It was when like he went for the jump shot. Like,
And
it
then-
wasn't. He didn't break. It was like a strain.
That's 7 years apart.
He was
He
gone for a
broke
whole
a
year.
bone
He didn't
in
play
his
for a whole year.
He broke a bone in his foot.
That year he was on the Thunder, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
And
on
they
the
had to-
Thunder.
they had to
remake-
Warriors.
They had to give him a new pair of shoes and everything. He had to remake his shoes. I'm saying, I know these are not the same things,
Okay.
but we can't let like one or two injuries outside of it make a player injury prone. If we have 82, 79, 77, 78, and then he missed them from a torn Achilles, I don't think that makes him injury prone.
But mind you,
AD is injury
but
prone.
John Wall played the injury a lot.
That is true.
He played the injury a lot.
I understand, but that's
He
no.
injured.
It's different injuries that you can play through and injuries that you can't play through. I think that's the difference
that
as
makes
well.
him less injury prone.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
It's fine.
Let's move
Yeah.
on. Let's move on. Let's
Yeah.
move on.
We have one more topic. Or what
Yeah.
we doing?
What's
with
the draft, man?
So with our
Real
final
quick,
topic,
yeah.
you know, the draft happened a few days ago. We're gonna start with Nate. Just biggest takeaway. from the
Biggest
draft.
takeaway.
And are we talking about our teams or are we talking about
No,
just
the actual draft. We're talking
No,
about the
that's
actual
true.
draft. Actual draft. I don't know what the Knicks were thinking.
Oh, I
That was probably the most boneheaded. I know they want to go after Brunson
Yeah,
in the free
Can
agency.
you talk about that? Like how crazy that is?
No, it's ridiculous.
They're claiming cap space for Jalen Brunson.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
that's literally.
They
how
got
the
Kemba
Knicks-
Walker. That's the same name.
They don't
Same
have
person.
No, wait.
They don't have Kemba Walker
wait.
anymore.
Kimba Walker is what the Jalen Brunson? The same player?
Bro, Jalen Brunson, man.
Kemba Walker's not there anymore. Though.
Prisoner of the moment if they sign in Jalen Brunson. That's so crazy. Like, really, he's a 6'1" point guard.
Are you trying to give
You're
him
not
a
clearing cap space for him.
Yes, they're trying to give him the
And
max.
if-
Oh man, they're what?
They're trying to give him the
What's
max.
your
But
saying?
it's not.
Man,
They're
they
clearing
don't
the
give
cap
him
space. They
that Malcolm Brogdon
no.
contract.
But the way the NBA market is today, like he is.
No.
He's what?
He's
If
not-
Duncan
he's
Robinson
not
gets
worth
90 million,
The
he's
NBA
not
not
worth
all
25
contract.
No, it was.
Duncan Robinson is making 90 over 5 years. That's not even 20 million.
Yeah, I think the
It's
NBA.
still a bad deal.
No, the
My
NBA
point
market
is
is
like,
going to
I'm
reset.
not saying it's a good thing, but I'm saying the way the market is now, it's not crazy.
Jalen Brunson's not
Oh.
worth
So
25
they're going to
million.
Yeah.
fix the CBA because all these contracts are off.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson needs to be on that Malcolm Brogdon contract.
Indeed.
I think it's like 22. It may be less than that, but it's not no max.
I don't even
Yeah,
think.
they're trying to offer
I don't even
25
think he's worth
before.
that. Jalen Brunson is 6'5".
Yeah, I don't even.
You mean Malcolm Brogdon?
Man,
Malcolm Brogdon is
Yeah.
6'5".
Jalen
Does Jalen
Brunson-
Brunson play defense?
No.
No.
Jalen Brunson come off the bench earlier this
Man, I don't know
It's
what.
crazy.
Yeah,
I
I
would
will-
back
I
up to
will-
Luka. A max contract.
I would have gave more money to Spencer than.
I'm about to say he's basically on the Dinwiddie tier,
Yeah,
if we're
he's
being
on the
honest.
Dinwiddie. But
And
I will
Dinwiddie is
say
6'6".
this about the rest of the draft, though. I think Ivy that Detroit is great. I think they had an A+ draft. I'm trying to think who else had a really good draft. I'm not blanking right now.
The Thunder.
The Thunder had a really good draft.
year. I think the Thunder.
I think the Thunder did. No, I think for what they're building. No, I think for what they're building, just like
No, they
bringing
did.
a bunch of young prospects,
They got
especially
both
those with
Jalen
like.
Williams.
Yeah, Jalen Williams is a
Literally.
player like you don't
Yeah,
know
both
what
of
his like roof is, and you don't know what like his floor is. For me personally,
Which Jalen are you
They
talking
got
Probably
both
shooting
of-
guard.
they
the
got-
shooting guard.
Okay.
I also think the big man from Arkansas, Jalen Williams, is going to
about?
be
They
good.
both because they got both
They don't got no beef on that team, though. I tell you that. That front
Man,
court
they
look
just got
crazy.
Jalen Williams from Arkansas. He's 6'10", 240.
Yeah, great shot blocker.
Who else they good? Who else Thunder good?
Other Jalen Williams.
No,
I don't recall what they did.
Moving on.
Slim
Um,
Towers.
highest pick?
I like Slim Towers, man. That's a
Chet,
good.
Chet,
move.
yeah.
I hope they
That's
start. I hope they start Chet at center, Poku at power
That'd
forward,
be so good.
Lou Dort, SGA, and who at two?
Josh Giddey.
Giddey?
Oh my goodness.
That's-
Ooh man, that's
Did you
What
know
are
that
they
lineup?
saying?
That's hot like
That's a plan.
Bucks and
Why are you
76ers?
still taking?
that's not tanking.
Victor's on that?
That's a 41
That's
team
that
right
lineup versus the
there.
Lakers.
That might
LeBron
win.
get 80.
They might win 40 games right there.
Okay,
And
anyways.
the Lakers couldn't even beat the Thunder last year, so what they going to do?
Damn.
Man.
Add Chet to that?
If Chet is as good as we say he is, we already see.
No.
It's-
Hold up.
It's- he
Oh,
is-
wait.
Kendrick
What y'all-
Perkins said he is not.
We already see how
What do you think
good.
about Paolo going number one?
Man.
For the longest week, that was
I
huge
love
for
it.
us.
That
Nah,
was
that was the right pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went as expected for me. This same 3 picks are the ones that I picked. So I'm happy with the draft.
With the Orlando Magic being my 4th favorite team, actually no,
Damn.
my third favorite team. I would say
Who's number 2?
oh
Rockets.
Clippers.
Okay.
Now, after today,
No, it's Clip City. I've been saying Clip City for a while. Ever since PG.
Because of PG? Okay.
Yeah, he was battling mental health.
No, we got it.
Sorry, I should have backed that. I'm sorry.
Hey, why you
laughing?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Mental health is a joke?
No,
Talk about the Magic,
Paolo Banchero on that Magic team. I wanted him on the Rockets, but I'm glad he didn't go to the Thunder because the Rockets, I like the Rockets too because they got Jalen Green, KPJ. But I think him on the Magic really fits because I think the Magic need that guy. And I don't know if Jabari Smith's potential was as high as Paolo Banchero's potential in being that guy. Realistic potential. I don't know if Jabari Smith's realistic potential can be as high as being a 25 point per game scorer. And I think Paolo Banchero could be 25.
Why isn't it realistic?
25, 10, and 6.
You
Because
can't
I don't know if Jabari Smith is doing much off the dribble day one.
I think he has
Well,
the
of course
highest.
not day one.
I swear he has the highest floor right. He has the highest floor right now to me out of the
Jabari?
three. He's a 6'10" power forward shooting 40% from
Who?
three.
Paolo's got a higher floor than him.
I don't know.
Today, I think
Paolo
today.
has a higher floor than Jabari to me.
I think
Jabari got the higher ceiling.
No, I'm saying
a lot of
today.
Paolo's game is predicated on what he does with the ball, though. I think he's saying higher floor.
First
because
day
Jabari
in the league,
operates
if you're coming into the league at 6'10", he plays what they call elite defense. I don't know if it's elite as Jabari Smith, but you're shooting 40% and playing very good defense. That makes you right now better than Chet because he's like the most raw prospect, and then that makes you better than Paolo because everybody says, "Oh, Paolo tries on defense, he'll be good," like on both ends.
I see what y'all was saying, but I think the reason why Paolo went number one is because Orlando sees the potential, but I do feel like they felt like he had the highest floor.
Yeah, you do.
But I think the first three picks like fit perfectly. Like Paolo,
I do like
because Paolo's a guy that like he can play make for others. He can be that guy that can make things happen. When Markelle isn't being the lead guard. I think Jabari's great off the basketball as a scorer. So when you have guys like KPJ and Jalen Green, that he's able to fit with them better than obviously Chet in Oklahoma City. I mean,
and he's not asked to be a primary scorer.
Exactly.
For Jabari, if he would have gone to Orlando, they would have been looking at him crazy when he was just sitting in the corner, not really doing much with the ball. And if he did have the ball, if he was struggling, it would have been bad.
But I still don't. The Magic still don't have an identity though. To me,
The identity is Paolo right now.
Exactly.
I don't.
So how come when I
No,
proposed the first
it's
three,
not Paolo. It's not
y'all
Paolo.
listened to that I was crazy?
Don't let me speak on my
It's-
second favorite team.
If I looked at you
actually
crazy, it was
Jonathan.
probably because they were just saying Jabari.
Yeah, I'm like, I
That's
said in the
still
group chat,
Jonathan
y'all like,
Isaac's
what you
team.
talking about? I'm like, bro, it's a perfect fit for everybody.
Yeah, I mean you're right. You're definitely right. It's
That's
perfect.
one of my-
I think it was just at the time. If I looked at you crazy, it was probably because they were just like Jabari's going one no matter what. So I wasn't even thinking about anybody
I
else.
think Paolo in Houston would have been.
It could fit, it could
interesting.
work.
Paolo
It
would
could
work.
have,
It
it
could
could
work.
have, but
They'd be losing games 160.
that's a lot of guys who need the ball.
exactly.
And Paolo off the ball, I don't really know what he's doing. If
Yeah.
Jalen Green is isoing, what is Paolo?
Boxing
and
out.
we've already seen what is KPJ doing off the ball. We don't know what all of them are doing off the ball. But Jabari Smith is one of the best off the ball prospects that we've seen come into the league in a while.
And he's good defensively.
He's good defensively, and that's what not the Magic. The Rockets really needed next to ISO heavy players like KPJ and potentially Jalen Green, who will be even more ISO heavy in the coming years.
And to piggyback real quick, I would say the Rockets are the underrated winner of the draft because obviously we start with the Christian Wood trade, so you're able to get him off. So that allows Jabari, Sengun, Garuba, and then Tari Eason, who was their second first round pick, to have a good amount of BT.
They got your guy Tata.
And then they got Ty Washington, who should have a good amount of BT now. Schroeder's not there.
Good John Wall. No,
Schroeder's not. I'm about to say Schroeder's not there. John Wall's not there now. So
you're right.
So now that allows Christopher and Ty to be your backup guards behind KPJ.
You think they might slide in?
That team is gonna suck.
You think they
I
can
think Aaron
slide?
Gordon's
They're gonna be fun to watch.
True Hooper team right
They're gonna
there.
be terrible.
I think Aaron Gordon probably gets moved for like a pick around the trade.
I love Sengun game too, man. He's another player who I look at and I'm like, I want him to have the ball in his hands too. Mm-hmm. If they drew the draft, because he's a really good playmaker for a big man. I don't want to get into like the Jokic comparison that a lot of people are giving him, but he's a good passer for a big man. Marc Gasol is a really good. Man, go ahead, you talk. That was really good. No, that was really good.
I gotta say, like I was just looking at like each team's picks, and a lot of teams really had like great drafts. Like it may not look like it, but I'm looking now. Like the Timberwolves had a pretty decent draft. Like we have Walker Kessler, then the Glue Glide like one no more. You look at the Bucks, Marzon Baycamp, like what?
Yeah, Bochamp was a
Walker
good pick.
Kessler, man.
Yeah, Baycamp was good.
Amen.
What?
I do
you
want
you got good rim protection from
I
him.
do want to add to the point of the good draft, and I don't want to steal a point that Kendrick Perkins made because you. But he was saying the entire draft how people were starting to realize. I think teams are starting to figure out, especially when you have mid to late first round picks.
Yeah.
The picks that you need to make are 3-and-D wings who can shoot and play defense. And Kendrick Perkins was saying it the whole draft. They were taking wings who can shoot and play defense. And when you're a playoff team, you saw with the Warriors, they had wings. They had Otto Porter coming off the bench who shoots and plays defense. Andrew Wiggins was starting, and he was shooting 40% this year. He didn't shoot 40% in the playoffs, I don't think. But he's somebody who shoots and plays defense. So they showed that a championship team needs a certain amount of wings who can complement the stars. And in the draft, you can't always swing for home runs because that's where a lot of the busts come from.
Yeah. I was actually going to say, real quick before we had, because we're running short on time, but who do you think out of all the teams, who had the best draft for you? If you had to pick a team.
Just go in order.
Well, y'all did draw two, right?
Yeah, I was going to say
the best draft. I got my man, Mr. Weaver. I mean, because if you look at that lineup now, and if they can swing Miles Bridges, then their lineup is complete. Like,
who do you have starting at the 5 on the?
If they don't get
Durant.
Yeah, you get
Duran.
Durant.
Duran is starting at the 5.
Yes.
Duran is a better role man than Isaiah Stewart.
Isaiah Stewart is a
Stewart,
WWE character.
No.
He's on that team.
Duran's a better role man. Cade needs a guy that can roll to the rim.
You think Duran's going to start year one?
I think he will.
I don't think he'll start starting.
You think
I think maybe like 30, 35. They're going to be splitting minutes.
If they're playing Isaiah Stewart, though, it'll be hard for him. Unless, I don't want to wish injury on nobody, but if Isaiah Stewart is playing, I don't know if he'll ever play bad enough for them to automatically replace him.
Yeah.
Unless Jalen Duran is coming off the bench and doing like
hooping
10 and 10 off
That's
the
why
automatically.
Duran's got more offensive potential
can
to
do
me,
it, though.
Duran's got more offensive potential to me, though.
Yeah,
so I would start him over
and low key.
So you got Detroit,
and the Warriors as well. I mean,
I got Detroit too.
No. I think the Warriors just sneaking and getting Baldwin. Because he went to Milwaukee, so everybody's like,
that's a pick they can afford to make.
But you take a pick like that, and if he can just
you get him and
do something.
Also Ryan Rollins, too, from
Who
Toledo.
did he take?
Jovic.
They got him as
We don't need. But wait, on your point real quick, when you was talking about like the wings and stuff, I mean, we definitely saw it because a lot of them was dropping, like Jaden Hardy, Kennedy Chandler, all them
guards,
them young
Jaden
guards.
Gonna be the steal of the draft.
That's easy to say because he's the number 2 recruit in the class. They say he shot like 30-something.
Yeah, like 30%, like 21 from 3.
Didn't you say playing against NBA people?
Yeah. No, I get it, but
I would rather take an international player though.
And I think the Mavericks are another team that can afford to take a swing on a bigger name prospect who fell to them because they have a lot of wings as well. They have Reggie Bullock plays for them, Dorian Finney-Smith, and you don't really need anybody.
Right.
They just got Jaden Hardy.
No, that's what I'm saying.
How many more wings do they have?
In a playoff rotation, how many do you need?
Wings?
No, I'm saying if you already have Reggie Bullock, you have Tim Hardaway Jr. still. What's wrong with Tim Hardaway Jr. can get you 16 points a game.
I don't know, like the playoff wings though.
You need at least 3.
These aren't playoff level wings.
But,
Reggie Bullock was balling.
Yeah.
At least in that.
Finney-Smith
Everybody was
at
balling.
home.
Everybody was balling.
Who do y'all think had the best?
I think I'm gonna go with the Bucks. They got Hugo Benson. I'm
he knows who, man.
I like what the Thunder did. I think they left with 4 good prospects.
Uzman. Oh, we forgot about Uzman.
Yeah,
Uzman at the 3. Put Lou Dort on the bench for real.
Plus, I don't know if Durant's gonna stay with the Pistons, depending on how the Aiden thing works out. So I don't know if it I don't know yet.
I think it depends on what happens with Bridges.
They still trying to get in for
Bridges? What you mean?
I think they're going to try to run.
So.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, so this is what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking if the Pistons. No, let me start here. If Charlotte is willing to give the max for Miles Bridges, I think the Pistons are still in play for DeAndre Ayton.
Okay.
If they don't and the Pistons take Bridges, I think they do. I think they take Bridges and then Ayton starts looking somewhere like maybe San Antonio.
Give me Durham over. Give me Durham over Ayton. I'm gonna be honest today.
What do you mean?
How does that affect the draft?
What do you mean? How does it affect the draft?
You said it depends. I said my take on the Pistons depends on if Jalen Durant stays with the what you call.
Yeah, so I was saying I think Duran probably stays with the Pistons in the event that they take Miles Bridges.
I can see it both ways.
But if they don't take Miles Bridges, then they probably try to
go
go
get
get
Pistons and I have cap space, I really don't know if I want to spend my money on DeAndre Ayton. But I will say the Pistons, once other teams start to get cap space, they're not going to be a team bringing in big name free agents unless Cade turns into this super recruiter because we've never really seen player
Small market.
exodus to Detroit.
Yeah.
Unless, like I said, Cade can recruit other players. So if this is their opportunity to get a max level player, and if you believe DeAndre Ayton is a max level player, then I say you go get him. But the draft kind of tells me that they may have just backed off that idea, and they already had Isaiah Stewart, and then they added Jalen Duren. So I don't know whether they're even considering DeAndre Ayton. I really do.
They're probably trying to go to Bridges.
I really do think they're all in on Miles.
Do they have the money for both?
No.
That's all.
So my thing, I'm taking Durant and Miles.
I think the only way they'd have a chance at keeping both is if they renounce all their free agents. Because I think that gives them like $53 million.
But I don't think that's smart either.
You
Durant and Miles
I agree
is
with y'all.
far and away
I
better
think that's how
than
they
just
would have to
Ayton.
do it.
Way better than just Ayton. Because I think
the jury's still on Ayton, though, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm willing to commit them. If that's my big
But
free
it's a
agent
potential.
signing
It's a potential of like if you sign him and then you get to the point where like I'm not saying he's supermax, and he gets to that point where like next time when contract negotiations comes around, he's like he's coming to his own as that player, which a lot of people like was not a lot, but some people think he can be. He's shown flashes of it, and it's like, oh man.
he has
But
a,
if
he has a higher upside signing than Miles
Jeez.
Bridges, I would say.
But if you can't do it in like Game 7 this year, you was in the finals last year.
There was something
and
in that
he was,
locker room though.
and
to be
he's
fair.
looking crazy. Like
COVID.
No, literally.
No.
They did have. No, they,
In the Suns locker room.
they actually had COVID in the Suns locker
Oh
room.
yeah, they did.
But that's
Yeah.
No, but
Well,
you saw. I don't know if y'all saw, but they asked Monty about like why he didn't play, and he's like, "I'm not talking about this."
Oh, yeah,
they
something
probably
happened.
they probably
Something
talking to
happened.
him like, man up, what are you doing? He be
was
putting
about
up
NBA different.
he be
Yeah,
putting up 9 points, 8 rebounds against Maxi Kleber, and we sitting here like,
Be a man.
oh, he just need to get some time. He need to grow into himself. Like
I'm just giving you what other people make.
I mean, you're playing with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. You have no excuse as a big man to not keep doing what you have to do.
just eat.
And well, Chris
You getting.
Chris Paul wasn't making it easy.
Yeah, he wasn't even still. Chris Paul.
At a certain point, you just gotta be like, give me the ball.
When Bismack Biyombo and Joe McGee is coming in and matching your production, it's like
They not listening for real. Like that's so crazy to
That's
me.
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying?
They was coming in and putting up 13 and 10.
Who do you
yeah.
think-
I'm
who do you
gonna
think
pick
the best
I'm
draft?
gonna pick the Pistons too.
Okay.
I'll do
So,
the Heat too.
No collision.
I think the Pistons got their back for the future once they get Miles Bridges. If they should, I don't believe Michael Jordan will give Miles Bridges.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Charlotte wants to get
especially
the max.
after some of the stuff he posted on social media.
Nah,
That's
that
valid.
quote is so crazy.
Oh, the Pistons jump.
Yes, he said if they don't give me the max, I'm going to the Pistons. That's a real quote.
That's
Man,
a real
man,
man.
posted
said
that.
that.
I think he changed the caption too.
He did.
He changed it to some, but it's too late now. Everybody's
They
seen
all,
it.
they all run together.
That's a
Man.
good ball. That's a good
I
ball.
mean,
You know
but
what they
they in
say?
the same group. What's it?
That would be
TV?
lovely.
That's what they gonna say.
Yeah, that's the.
That's gonna be the reason they don't give him the max.
Fast break the Miles
He
Bridges,
got
bro.
he got a bad group of friends. He don't run with good
That's
people.
why.
You know what I mean?
Hey man, they said that about Champ Bailey back in the day.
All right.
I'm serious.
All right, let's see.
You remember? They traded Champ Bailey for Clint Borden. Said
talking about Champ
he didn't
Bailey.
have a good entourage. Dan Snyder got rid of him.
Goes to Denver and he's
Yeah,
Hall of
I
Fame.
like
All right, Ron.
Yeah.
Take us home.
Same thing for Miles Bridges. But what?
You can get a
Hall of
elite
Fame in the
running back.
making?
Elite running back.
Okay.
Lockdown corner. You gotta do it.
Let's just grab the
All right,
take
man,
home.
well,
Take us
this,
home.
this has been another great episode of What's the Play podcast. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, and share with everyone you know. Make sure you follow us on all the socials. Those will be in the description below. And we will see you next time on the next episode of What's the Play podcast.